Hello, John Felt here. Yesterday I sent out a video and some reason there are technical issues, and when it tried to play, it didn't play. So I'm going to put together another one for you today. First of all, I wish everybody a happy Easter, and I think I have pretty much an Easter forecast for you here. Now, before we start that, let's take a look at the precipitation over the last week. And the southeast U.S. has been really wet. The south central U.S. and southeast U.S. has been really wet. We're talking about inches of rain into those areas. Another little axis here extended up across the Ohio River Valley, but really this area right in here, sort of brushing Mississippi, northwest Alabama, far northern Georgia, and then Texas, Louisiana. Very, very wet. Now, we did have some more precipitation over the northern Corn Belt, but nothing like we saw the week before with the very heavy snow. Matter of fact, all that snow has melted now, and it's all in the rivers. And you can see here for the last month, one of the reasons why the rivers have been so active is because we've had so much precipitation over parts of the Missouri and upper Mississippi. Now, the lower Mississippi is also running quite high. All that water is coming downstream from the Missouri and Mississippi, combining into the lower Mississippi, and we're also having a lot of rain over that area. So all the rivers are quite active. Many areas are in moderate flood, red, or major flood, purple. Now here's my analysis of the rivers here. This is where all that snow melted. But the good news is further downstream here, there wasn't any precipitation. So this flood wave is going to tend to attenuate or not be quite as high as it comes down the Missouri. And likewise on the upper Mississippi, we have major flooding here, but as it comes down, it gradually is not quite as intense because there hasn't been as much rain in this area. Now, rivers in Indiana and the eastern Corn Belt, we've had recent rain. They're also running high, minor flood. That's not necessarily unusual this time of year. And we're just sort of sustaining the high flows on the lower Mississippi. These levels were much higher earlier in the spring. They're not so high now, and I think just basically all that water is flushing down through the system the next couple of weeks. But we still have wet soils in many spots, and I think that's our biggest forecast challenge this spring, are the very wet soils here, especially in the darker green and the blue. So when I talk about the rainfall forecast, this is one area we really don't want any more rain. All that snow is melted in parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin. So many fields are inundated with all that rainfall from our moisture from snowmelt. Eastern Corn Belt, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, not so bad. Pretty much in good shape at this time. Now, temperatures cooled down over the last week, but now they're starting to warm up again, so soil temperatures are getting back to where they should be. There's a little bit of a dip here, and that's the remains of the cold air that pushed in behind the boundary that produced all the severe weather. And this is that system right here. It's moving off the east coast now. Severe weather all the way from Texas all the way up through the east coast over the last 3 or 4 days. But behind it, look at this, you don't see a whole lot of energy here. You don't see a lot of atmospheric energy. And when I say atmospheric energy, I'm talking about the wind speeds here at the coloring here. So the more the coloring, the more the atmospheric energy at about 30,000 feet. And I'll bring it back down to a lower level here in just a moment. Okay, so when we look at the forecast jet stream, what do we see? Well, first of all, I don't see any blue. I see more brown, and that means the jet stream's further north than normal, and that generally means milder or warmer temperatures. And towards the end of the jet stream, the 2-week period, look at this, we get sort of a southwest flow. Southwest flow can give us some precipitation. It brings these little pockets of energy here and brings them into the Corn Belt. That's week 2, so we'll have to just wait and see. Okay, so as far as temperatures go, I've been following the models here, and it looks like week 1 is on the mild side, normal temperatures, if not above normal. But the one thing that models seem to be more consistent with is bringing some cooler air, sinking it down here in week 2. And, that's not what we need in this area because soils are cold and we have wet fields. We want to dry that out. So that's not the best news. But the central Corn Belt in the east, right across here, it looks pretty good. In Iowa here, generally it cools down, but near normal. So above normal and then near normal. As far as precipitation goes over the next 7 days, it looks like the major area of precipitation is going to be Texas and Oklahoma. Southeast looks like it's going to get a break. There'll be some light to moderate precipitation, but it looks like there's going to be a break. Over the middle Corn Belt, light precipitation, and unfortunately for parts of the area that have been very wet, we could have more rain. So parts of the Dakotas, Wisconsin, Minnesota, areas that have been wet and generally cool are going to probably remain, after maybe a little bit of a reprieve, wet and cool. So it's not too good for the upper Midwest, but the rest of the area looks pretty good for field operations. Okay, so we look at precipitation here. This goes through, it looks like about May, I think it's May, let's see, 3rd, 4th, 5th, I think 7th here. Okay, May 6th. Okay, let's take a look at through May 6th. Just tells us where we get our heavier rain, and the heavier rain would be in areas that sort of like the pink. And what we see here is, as we get through early May, right in this area here. Now, some parts of Iowa can certainly handle this. They haven't been as wet, but I still think we're looking at some possibilities of not drying out these fields within this area here. Now, the eastern Corn Belt can definitely handle this rain, 2 to 3 inches of rain over the next couple weeks, but this is the area here that, again, I think it's going to be problematic. It's not necessarily a widespread, continuous soaking rain, but it is sort of a problem that we're just thinking we're getting dried out, and then we're going to get more rain within this area. So we look at the 6 to 10 day, we see mild temperatures over most areas, and this 8 to 14, we get that cooler air pushing in, and again, it looks like it's going to sort of affect this area north of that line. Everywhere else, it looks like it's going to be fairly close to normal for this time of year. And again, where we're looking at above normal precipitation right in here. So I think in summary, what we're looking at here is, like I said a couple times already, the upper Midwest, particularly the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, it's going to have some problems, continuing problems due to cool and wet weather. Everywhere else it looks pretty good. And to give you an example here of, this is through the 7th of May, this is for Des Moines, just to show you where the temperatures go. Each one of these dips is a front, so there's a front here, there's another front here, and that brings temperatures down, but note, temperatures are only coming down about 5 degrees below normal. Otherwise, they're staying fairly close to normal, a little bit above, 5 to 10 degrees above, or maybe 5 degrees below. And I think that's sort of typical for a good part of the Corn Belt. So anyway, I think for most of the area, it is looking better. And hopefully that's good news. I think there's going to be a lot of action going on this week in our fields, getting ready for the new growing season as soils dry out, warm up, and temperatures remain acceptable. Again, happy Easter. I'm sorry for the technical problems with yesterday's video. Hopefully that's all worked out. I can't explain what's going on. It looked okay on my side, but when folks called it up, it looked messed up. So hopefully we can get this straightened out and have a great week.